You're sitting in a beautiful café on a cobblestone street in Paris. The air smells like fresh pastries. The sun is perfect, but inside, you're starting to boil over. You finished your espresso 10 minutes ago, and the waiter hasn't even looked in your direction. You're ready for the check. You have places to be, sights to see. You try to catch his eye, maybe give a little wave. Nothing. Is the service here just awful, or could it be something else? Could it be that without knowing it, you're accidentally being the most frustrating and, frankly, the most insulting customer they've seen all day? The shocking truth is that a hidden world of unspoken dining rules exists outside the United States. And for locals, watching an American tourist break them isn't just annoying, it's a sign of deep disrespect. First, let's unravel the illusion of bad service, because what Americans perceive as neglect is often the exact opposite. This is the crime of rushing. In the United States, dining is often a transaction. The goal of a restaurant, from a business perspective, is to turn tables. The faster you're in and out, the more customers they can serve and the more money they make. This has trained American diners to expect hyper-attentive service. Water is refilled before it's empty. The check is often dropped on the table before you've even finished your last bite. It's a culture of speed and efficiency, but in much of Europe, Latin America, and beyond, this entire philosophy is flipped on its head. A meal isn't a transaction, it's a social event. It's a sacred, hours-long ritual meant to be savored. When you sit down at a restaurant in Italy or Spain, that table is considered yours for the evening. The staff isn't ignoring you, they are intentionally giving you space. They are respecting your time to talk, to laugh, to digest, and to simply exist without being hurried. The idea of rushing you out the door for the next customer is considered incredibly rude on their part. So, when an American tourist starts impatiently looking at their watch or frantically waving for the bill, it's not just seen as a cultural quirk. It's perceived as a fundamental misunderstanding, an insult to the very purpose of the meal. You are, in effect, telling the chef his food isn't worth savoring and telling the establishment that their cherished tradition of hospitality is just an obstacle in your busy schedule. In many places, after a big meal, it's common to have a cafecito or a digestivo, a small coffee or liqueur to help settle the food and continue the conversation. Trying to get the check before this ritual is like leaving a concert before the encore. You're missing the point entirely, and the staff knows it. But the misunderstanding goes even deeper than the pace of the meal. It's also about the timing, a cultural landmine that instantly separates the tourists from everyone else. Imagine this, you're in Madrid, you're hungry, and you walk into a highly rated restaurant at 6:30 p.m. The place is completely empty. You might think you're lucky that you beat the rush. The reality is you haven't beaten the rush. You've arrived hours before the party has even started. The kitchen staff might not even be on their main shift yet. This is the tyranny of the clock. In the US, 6 p.m. is a perfectly normal, even early, time for dinner. But in countries like Spain and Argentina, dinner doesn't truly get going until 9, 10, or even 11 p.m. This isn't arbitrary. It's baked into the culture. In Mediterranean climates, the workday often ends later to avoid the intense afternoon heat. A late dinner is a social necessity, the main event of the evening where friends and family finally gather. In Buenos Aires, many restaurants won't even accept reservations before 8 p.m. Showing up at 6 p.m. is a massive red flag that screams, "I am a tourist." You might get served, but you'll likely be eating in a ghost town, served by a skeleton crew preparing for the actual dinner service. You're not getting the authentic experience. You're getting the pre-show, the rehearsal. By trying to stick to an American schedule, you are fundamentally out of sync with the rhythm of the culture you're visiting, and you end up observing it from the outside instead of participating within it. Now, let's talk about something even more personal, your behavior at the table. This is where the ugly American stereotype can rear its head, often without you even realizing it. You might think you're just having a fun, lively conversation with your friends. But to a quiet, intimate restaurant in Kyoto or Prague, you might as well be setting off fireworks. American culture often equates loudness with fun and energy. Our restaurants are frequently designed to be cavernous, open, and buzzing with noise. But in many other cultures, the opposite is true. Dining is an opportunity for quiet, intimate conversation. A hushed, respectful tone is the norm. When a group of Americans enters and maintains their normal volume, it can feel like a sonic invasion, disrupting the peaceful atmosphere for every other patron. It's seen as a lack of awareness, a form of social selfishness. But the ultimate sign of disrespect in the modern age goes beyond volume. It's the glow of a smartphone screen or the clacking of a laptop keyboard during a meal. Taking a business call, scrolling through social media, or answering emails at the dinner table is, in many cultures, the most profound insult you can offer. You are broadcasting to the chef, the staff, and everyone around you that this experience, the food they prepared, the atmosphere they created is secondary to whatever is happening in your digital world. It signals a complete disengagement from the present moment, a rejection of the social contract of sharing a meal. While it might be common in a fast-paced American lunch, in a traditional European dinner setting, it's a cardinal sin. The cultural clashes continue right down to the most basic of morning rituals, coffee. That giant, 20-ounce paper cup of vanilla latte that you grab to go every morning. In many of the world's most famous coffee cultures, that concept is not just unusual, it's a complete absurdity. In Italy, the birthplace of espresso, coffee is a ritual. It's a quick, powerful shot of espresso taken while standing at the bar, a brief but potent moment of pause in your day. In France, the café is a social institution where you sit for an hour with a café crème, reading a newspaper or watching the world go by. The idea of taking this experience and putting it in a disposable cup to be chugged while rushing to the next tourist spot is seen as missing the entire point. It treats a cherished cultural practice like a transaction at a fast food joint. It has the difference between appreciating art and simply taking a blurry photo of it as you run past. When you order a large, complicated, syrupy drink in a takeaway cup, you're not just placing an order. You're revealing a deep cultural disconnect. You're choosing American convenience over the local tradition, and in doing so, you're signaling that you're not there to experience their culture, but to consume a product. And then we come to the great beverage divide, the controversy over free refills and ice. Have you ever been in Rome, finished your small glass of Coke, and felt a pang of frustration that nobody is rushing to give you another one for free? The reason for this is more shocking than you might think, and it exposes a fundamental difference in consumer philosophy. In the US, free refills are a pillar of customer service, a sign of abundance and hospitality. But in most of the world, you pay for what you consume. Each bottle of soda is a separate item on the bill, but the real controversy lies with ice. Americans love their drinks packed to the brim with ice. But in many other countries, you might get 1 or 2 cubes, if any at all. Why? The explanation is a fascinating piece of cultural speculation. Rumors and reports suggest that some non-Americans, particularly in Europe, view a glass packed with ice as a clever way to rip off the customer. The perception is that the establishment is just using frozen water to fill the glass, giving you less of the actual, more expensive beverage. It's seen as a sneaky trick, so when an American demands more ice, it can be met with confusion. From their perspective, you're asking for more of the filler that reduces the value of your drink. It has a perfect example of two cultures looking at the exact same thing, a glass of ice, and seeing polar opposite intentions. One sees generosity, the other sees deception. But of all the mistakes an American can make while dining abroad, there is one that stands above the rest. It's a mistake they make thinking they are being polite, generous, and respectful. And in some parts of the world, it is the most deeply insulting gesture you can possibly make. We are talking about the tipping minefield. In the United States, tipping isn't just customary, it's essential. Service staff often rely on tips to make a living wage, and not tipping is a major social faux pas. Americans carry this custom with them across the globe, leaving a generous 15 to 20% tip wherever they go. The problem is, in many countries, this is not how the system works. In places like Australia, much of Scandinavia, and many other nations, service industry professionals are paid a robust living wage. The price you see on the menu is the price you pay, and it often includes a service charge. A tip is not expected. While leaving a little extra for exceptional service might be appreciated, a large, American-style tip can cause confusion and discomfort. But it gets worse. In some cultures, particularly in Japan, leaving a cash tip can be an outright insult. The gesture can be interpreted as a handout, a form of pity. It carries the unspoken implication that you believe their employer does not pay them enough for their skilled work, which can be a source of shame. Staff may even politely refuse the tip or, in some documented cases, chase after the tourist to return the money, believing it was left by accident. You intended to give a compliment, but what they received was an insult to their professional pride. It is the ultimate cultural blunder, one you pay extra to deliver. Finally, we have to talk about the unspoken rules that start before you even walk in the door: the hidden dress code. In the casual dining culture of the United States, it's perfectly normal to show up to a decent restaurant in shorts, a t-shirt, and sneakers. But in many cities, especially in Europe, dining out in the evening is an occasion to dress up. Showing up to a nice restaurant in Rome or Paris in casual tourist gear is a major faux pas. While they may not deny you service, you are immediately branding yourself as an outsider who doesn't respect their customs. There is a widespread belief among travelers that your attire directly impacts the quality of service you receive. It's an unspoken bias. A well-dressed couple is perceived as more discerning and respectful of the establishment, whereas a casually dressed tourist might be seen as less serious, potentially leading to a less attentive service experience. It's not about being wealthy or fashionable. It's about showing respect for the place, the chef, and the other diners who made an effort to create a sophisticated atmosphere. So, the next time you're sitting in a foreign restaurant feeling that familiar flicker of impatience, take a breath and look around. The issue may not be the service, the timing, or the customs. The friction you're feeling is the clash between an American culture built on speed, convenience, and efficiency and a global culture that often prioritizes experience, tradition, and social connection above all else. It's not about one being right and the other being wrong. It's about awareness. The goal isn't to stop being American, but simply to be a better, more respectful guest in someone else's home. After all, travel is about experiencing the world as it is, not forcing it to be what you're used to. What's the most shocking cultural difference you've ever encountered while traveling? Share your story in the comments below.